Before we begin creating, we need to fill out some important information first. Starting with the very first left corner line, we're going to write our first and our last name. Underneath that, we're going to write our homeroom teacher and then our class, 1A for example. In the middle, you're going to write your school name, which is Denton Creek Elementary. On the very left, you will see 4 lines. The first one will say title. Our title is going to be garden. The next 3 lines are your name, your teacher, and your grade again. Repeat those same answers that you filled out before on the left. Here is a finished example of all the information filled out. Now there's 2 ways you can create your artwork today. You may do landscape, which is wide like a hot dog, or you may do portrait, that's tall like a building. Make sure it says top if you're doing a portrait, and make sure it says landscape if you're doing landscape. Go ahead and circle those words so that you know which direction your artwork is. We're going to be drawing inside this rectangle box. Now, no matter which way your paper is turned, find the top area of your rectangle box using your finger, and I'm practicing drawing a curved line. This curved line is going to be our bridge. Near the top of your rectangle box, make a small dot. Now we're going to draw a curved line from our dot to the edges of our rectangle box. Go ahead and repeat the same curved line on the other side. We're creating symmetry. They are both the same on each side. Now make another small dot below our first one. We're going to repeat the same steps with a curved line. Now you should have 2 curved lines. We're going to add 1 more in between those 2. Now you should have 3 curved lines. Now we're going to add vertical lines going up and down across our bridge. This is where your feet would walk on the bridge. Now we're going to draw 2 wavy lines that will represent our water. I'm drawing a wavy vertical line that starts from the top of my rectangle and goes near towards the bottom of my rectangle. When you are finished drawing your bridge and your water in pencil, turn in your artwork into your artwork folder. Today we're going to begin painting. Take your artwork out of your artwork folder. Let's go over our painting supplies. You will have your paint tray. We're mainly going to be using green and blue in our paint tray. We will also be using white paint, and we will have a large painting brush. We will also have our water basket that has our water cup filled halfway. If you're an art expert today, your job is to refill the water cup with clean water. You will also have a towel to gently wipe off your wet brush. Now we're using liquid paints today, so remember, your paints do not like water. Each time you wash out your brush, make sure you gently dry it off. Also, try to remember to wash your brush every time you use another color. Today we're going to be using a different painting technique. It's called stippling. Let's say that together. Stippling. Stippling is a lot like tap dancing. Instead of usually using our brush like a ballerina that paints long and side to side, it's going to be tap dancing short all over our paper. I'm using the blue paint to stipple in between the lines that we drew last week for our water. I'm stippling the blue paint until most of that area is filled with beautiful blue paint. It's okay if you paint over your bridge. After our painting dries, we're eventually going to redraw our bridge. You don't have to cover it all with blue paint. Your goal is to cover most of it. When you're finished, wash out your brush, and now we're going to stipple on white paint. Don't forget to dry off your brush gently. Dipping my brush into the white paint, we're going to repeat the same steps that we did with blue paint, but now with white. As we stipple on the white paint onto the blue, they will slowly begin to mix. You will see that you are creating a lighter blue. That's called a tint. Let's say that together. Tint. Today, we are painting just like Claude Monet. We're finished with our white, so wash out your brush one more time, gently wiping it off, and now we're going to be stippling on green paint. These are going to be the beautiful, lush trees and bushes and vines that we saw in Claude Monet's garden. When you're finished stippling on the green, wash your brush and we're going to use the white paint again and stipple it onto the green. You will now see a tint of green. Now our water is missing those beautiful lily pads that we saw in Claude Monet's garden. So using our green again, we're going to stipple on some green paint into the water, almost like the shape of an oval. With a clean brush, using the very tippy toes of my brush, I'm going to dip my paintbrush into red. We're going to use the red paint and paint on a dot on top of our lily pad, and that's going to be the flower that grows from the lily. Finish painting over by the sink by the yellow table, place your brush into the water bucket. When you're finished painting, take your artwork to the drying rack. Today we're going to be adding details using oil pastel. Now we've used oil pastels together a lot, but let's still review some of our expectations. In your tray you will have 4 sets. Grab 1 set of oil pastels for yourself to use. Remember, we use 1 color at a time, that way we don't lose any of the colors. If you need any help peeling the paper, please raise your hand and I will come help you. Now we should still be able to see a little bit of our bridge, but we mostly painted over it. We're going to redraw that with oil pastel. Find a brown oil pastel, doesn't matter which brown, and we're going to redraw those 3 curved lines. Remember, those curved lines go from the left side of your rectangle box all the way to the right side of your rectangle box. Let's redraw those vertical lines that go across our bridge. We can't really see the lily pads all that well in our water, so we're going to use a green oil pastel to outline the shape of our lily pad. Repeat this step until all your lily pads are outlined in a green oil pastel. We're going to use that same green oil pastel and draw some vines growing in our garden. I'm using some wavy and some curly lines that grow from the top of my artwork to the bottom. It can overlap, that means go over your bridge. It can even grow into the water. I'm now taking a lighter green oil pastel and I'm coloring a little bit more on my lily pads to bring out some of that beautiful green color. My last color is going to be pink. I'm now going to color a small dot on top of our red paint, and that is the flower on our lily pad. When you're finished, make sure you turn your artwork into your artwork folder. Double check that all your oil pastels are back in the box and back in the tray. We don't want to see any missing colors.